And hi, everybody. Welcome to Rick Snider's Washington. Live test starts 15 minutes later than usual, but I got a lot of grandkids here at a birthday party. So, as I said, I'm trying not to work myself to death. So, I'll let the room hopefully have a few people come in and we'll talk about it. But please like, share, subscribe, and comment so that the algorithm is happy. And where is my notes? Oh, here they are. Great TV. All right, so let's see who else is coming in. And if you're watching on replay later, thanks for coming. See if my hair doesn't stick up. It's the dog days of summer. Although it's not reason too bad around here. Let's see. There we go. Somebody's in. Steve, there you go. Thank you. Hopefully you heard I was 15 minutes later. Bob, thanks for coming. Just try to get everybody do 10 different things at once. All right, we got a few people. So if you guys haven't heard, I've got a Substack column now, which I'm trying to write most days of the week, mostly on the Commander. So if you go to ricksniderswashington.substack.com, you can sign up and read for free. There's no, like everything else I do, I can't have money in life, so I do it for free. I do have a new book coming out pretty soon, so hopefully some of you will buy it on there. Steve, you're only a number 2, whatever this system is. And Greg just came in. He's a 2 also. Suzanne's a 3. I don't know. That means you're one of my top people, but whatever it means, I don't know. Brian, thanks for coming. Crush, what type of design do you hope for the potential RFK Stadium? Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. I don't really care. I don't have to design it. Todd, thanks for coming. Mike's in here now. Is there a way to put your future YouTube podcast up ahead of time and people can join it ahead of time? Not that I know of. We're live, so I don't do a private one. So I'm not sure if there's anything like that otherwise. The main topic of the book, Brian, is it's a Jaden Daniels book. So it's called Jaden Daniels Smooth Operator, which, believe it or not, is his nickname as a kid and where he's from and his relatives and all that. The publisher says, we're going to do this, call him Smooth Operator. I go, I've never heard that. I've never heard that once. But they showed me an interview he did with somebody explaining that was his nickname as a kid. And they said, we want to do it. And here's the thing. When you contract with a publishing house for a book, they get to pick the title. You don't, because authors usually aren't as marketing savvy as the publisher. They don't want to get saddled with a stupid name, so they get to pick and I get nothing out of it. So I just saw the cover today. It has Jaden on it. It's going to be out September 9th. I think it's a smaller book because they called me in May, so we didn't have forever to do this. But it's a lot of topics about Jaden's first year in the league and relationships and all these things. It's a fun, light read, a lot of photos, and it'll be out September. So when we get close to it, I'll put up where I'll sell them to you guys if you like and sign them. And it'll be on Amazon. It'll be on all the bookstores. It's a regular publisher out of Chicago called Triumph. I've done several books with them, including like the 100 Redskins book, 100 Commanders. So that's all coming out. They've done this same series. It's the 4th one in a series. Of course, it was Mahomes. You got to start with Mahomes. Jalen Hurts on there. Josh Allen, and now they're doing Jaden. And for all people that always ask, are reporters, totally biased or are they against teams or whatever? Here's the real rule about covering a team. I've covered this team since 93 regularly, 83 occasionally. I can tell you, when a team does real well, writers like me get things come their way for money. And this book came out of nowhere, and they said, we want a Jaden Daniels book. Now, if they sucked last year, that wouldn't have happened. So we all high tides raise everybody up. The team, our writers, all that stuff. Plus, happy winning teams are happy people. That makes life a lot easier on me. Brian is a number 1. Brian, I don't know how you did that, but awesome on there. So, Steve, Brian's ahead of you. You might ask him how he did it. I don't know how he did it. But, Steve, I appreciate you buying the book one day. We'll do it soon. I'll sign it and ship it to you. I'll give you guys a better price than most places. Smooth operator, I do know that, Suzanne. I don't know if that's why they call him that. I think they call that because he would run so effortlessly that it was like smooth. So I don't think it was the song. And that song predates him because which Jaden, like 23, 24, 20, something like that. So he was born around 2000. Kids are young. So that's like 15 years before he was born. Out and thankfully nobody wanted a Dan Snider book. Oh, lots of people have asked me about would I write one, and I say no because I know Dan Snider well enough to know he'll sue me into the Stone Age, and even if I'm right, he'll just beat me on the legal costs. So I have no desire to do that. Matter of fact, Netflix asked me about doing a show with them, and they would not, protect me in any liabilities. And I'm like, forget this. So I turned down Netflix special twice this year, two different subjects. Sorry, everybody wants a piece of this. I wish they could take a piece of this. It'd be smaller. Mike, well, I know this one's coming. New York Post reported the Commanders owners have discussed the name change, bringing it back. Yeah, well, you can keep the New York Post. I'll worry about us. They can worry about them. If this name was really changing, and I read the story up there, it was fine written, seemed like a very reputable writer. But if that name's changing, you're not beating me to that story. I can tell you that right now. Nobody in New York's beating us to that story. End of discussion. So until you hear from a Washington people, the rest is just BS. Because what happens is if you get it wrong, you got to live with that down here. If you get it wrong in New York, who cares? So that's much more on us than out-of-town writers, especially years ago. And also, we're not going to use Redskins anymore. Well, nobody cares what you think in New York. This is a Washington issue. I always got tired of outside, liberals saying Washingtonians are too stupid to understand you're just a bunch of racists. Oh, gee, thanks for enlightening me. So outsiders, I get a little annoyed about all that. Not against you, Mike, but, that kind of thing. Slam and Jammin's here tonight. Yeah, I'm doing great. Don't think Terry is worth over $30 million per year, but Washington's odds of winning the Super Bowl are a lot lower without him. True. I don't know. It's not my money. It's not your money. What do we care what he gets on that? But, that's Adam Peters, and everybody loved Adam Peters, and now Adam Peters is like on the clock to see if he's good or not. This is going to be a real defining one on how he handles this. You need to get this guy back on the field. Steve, Brian's my middle name. So, okay, yeah. All right. Yeah, whatever. You're still, Steve, you just flipped a 3. I don't understand the system at all, but, whatever. I think these guys are buying their way up over you. So, I don't know. Abe, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. Somebody else, I usually always see this, and I missed it. Somebody else donated. You can donate money. If I missed your name, I'm sorry about that. Somebody had it. I think it was. But anyway, there's a $sign at the bottom, which I appreciate people donating because I've been at it since 6:30 this morning. So, we do it early in training camp with this coach. There's always stuff going on. So I do appreciate everybody because I had to leave family party. They're on the other side of the door with the other grandkids. Hey, I got to go do this because I promised I would. We're here every Monday in case you're new to this. So we'll see. Gregory, I don't know what the national press is really reporting on Terry's situation. I don't care what they have to say. I live inside the bubble here. So I don't know. Steve, a Netflix special. Yeah, well, the Netflix special is, they talk a lot of stuff. Todd, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Dr. Wonderful. Ooh, like that name. You've heard offense doesn't look good at camp. What do you think? I have only been a few times, but I saw the off-season ones too. Listen, if the offense is not looking as good, let's think about it the other way. The defense isn't looking as bad, okay? And the defense is better this year. You've got several guys that are going to step up and be better. So somebody's got to be on the wrong end of this, and that's why Wednesday's scrimmage against New England is more of a test because you're going against live action against other people competing for their jobs. Don't think this isn't rough. You notice it's only one day. That's because a lot of NFL teams are getting away from 2 days in a row because on the second day, the fights happen because everybody's unhappy. And if that guy's beating you, it could cost you your job, So you got to buck up and tomorrow get that guy. And that's when the fights would all happen. And so that's why you only see one one scrimmage now. They got tired. There was a lot of fighting around the league. So I think that's it's always hard to say if somebody's looking good and somebody's looking bad. So it's hard to tell against it. But I would say I thought the defense looked better this year early in camp. And listen, there's a problem. You're not allowed to hit the quarterback. You're not even really that allowed to get too close to him. So the quarterbacks have a little more freedom here. And so the defense is going to look a little worse because they don't get to play the full game. So there's some, different stuff there. Dizzy, did I hear we can pre-order the book? No, you didn't hear that part. But you will like a week out or so. I don't want to take your money right now and say, I'll see you in a month. We'll just do it when we get closer to it. And during the season, you'll be able to buy it. And I'm just, I'm letting you hold on to your money. It's sort of like people say, why didn't you sign Terry in June? Well, Terry's going to get millions of dollars as a bonus as part of this. You don't think Josh Harris says, I'd like to keep those millions in my bank one more month and make the money off of it. You would too. I don't have to pay him till July or August. We're not going to. We'll keep that money in our bank. So that's kind of the secret of that. Abe, who's also a one now. Thank you, Abe. Heading to Wednesday scrimmage. Good for you. By the way, it is not online. They're not live streaming the scrimmage. If you call it a scrimmage, it's really a joint workout. They'll do some 11 on 11s on there, so you could technically say they're scrimmaging in a way. But the Patriots, are not exactly the most open organization. I don't know anybody that would show a live practice like this. Now, are there fans in the stands with cameras and putting up clips on the internet Wednesday? I'm pretty sure, yes. So you'll be able to see some stuff on, Twitter and people's short clips. But it's not like, live from Foxborough. Here we go. I did call up just to make sure. I was kind of hit with a snarky. We don't do that. Well, I'm just asking. Doesn't hurt to ask. Let's see. Greg, I'm not quite sure what you're asking. Mike, a National Park Ranger called out Dan Snider for cutting trees on a hill. Correct. And the ranger got stationed to Alaska. Correct. Yeah, Dan Snider had this thing overlooking Great Falls and the river and beautiful property. But the trees were in the way of some of this. And he said, I want to cut them down. They said, no, can't do that. So he did it anyway and then paid the fine. And they're pretty serious about this forestry thing because I was looking at buying some property too and wondered, well, couldn't I just do? They said, no, you have to replace the trees and pay a big fine. And there's always somebody watching you. Don't think you get away with it. So that's what happened to him. That property is now for sale. They gave it to, was it the American Cancer Society? Somebody, they've dropped the money way down, still can't sell it. Dizzy, no, I won't take your money now. I'm sorry. Well, you can put it in the gift part, it's like the tip jar, that dollar sign down there on there. So don't worry, we'll get you the book. I'm glad to do so. That I just don't want to hold on to everybody's money for a month, Alton, if I had to rank Washington's GMs, especially Beathard, Casserly, and Peters, how would you rank them? Well, yeah, and like you said, it's early on Peters. So you got to go Beathard. He's the standard. Then I would go Charlie. Charlie had some gifts that we haven't seen Peters do yet. And then Peters. But Peters could get ahead of Charlie. But Charlie also had to run so many other things. Charlie and I are old friends, and I covered him, and he wouldn't. Here's a story for you. I had to tell Casserly he's getting fired the next day. And I also needed to know if they were going to sign Larry Centers, I think it was. And Charlie and I, we're talking late into the night, and he finally says to me, hey, is your last deadline passed? I said, yeah. He goes, yeah, we signed Larry Centers today. Son of a bitch. I was just telling you about your job and career and everything, and you wouldn't even throw me the bone about Larry Centers signing? That's who Charlie was, man. He was an organizational man, would never let anything out that he didn't have to. Charlie had the most uncomfortable 2 chairs in front of his desk. You felt like you were being tortured. And he did that purposely because when he had players come in his office and he was usually cutting them or something, he didn't want them getting comfortable sitting in that chair for long. So he made it painful to sit in those chairs. He had a lot of strategy. So I know people think, well, compared to Beathard, Beathard's one. It's like comparing people to Joe. Who's next? I actually, since Joe, I would say Quinn is 2 over Marty, over small things. That's a whole different show. But I really like Quinn a lot as far as what he's doing out there, and he seems like a nice guy. But I like what he's doing. I don't care if you're a nice guy if you win games on that level. I do care if you're a nice person. I don't like axe murderers. Brian, if the offense can be closer to last year and the D can be better, team be much improved. And yes, they can be much improved and yet not win more games. I mean, they had a horseshoe last year up their pockets. So not easy to win 12 games. That doesn't mean they should get to the playoffs. And then you got Jaden who can, rally you at any time like he did last year. He won the Tampa game, they won on a bounce field goal, but they won it. And Detroit, I thought, was the best game they played the whole season. And then Philly was just a better team. Okay. Can you believe there used to be 6 preseason games? Oh, yeah, Jeff, I remember. And I didn't have to do this, but I know people, the team usually reported after the 4th of July weekend. And they would go to Carlisle and they would be there for 2 months. And players used to rent homes out for their families because they didn't want to miss them for 2 months in the summertime. So it was a much different situation. It was only 4 games when I was doing camp, but we were at camp 6 weeks. That was a long time, brother. That's a long time to be away from home. I kind of regret letting myself do that. Let's see. Gregory, when's the travel day for the Patriots preseason game? Well, they traveled Tuesday, so nothing happens tomorrow. They're just traveling. Wednesday's joint practice. Thursday's players' day off. I think Friday is the game. 7:30. Then they come back to have Saturday off. And I think they come back to practice on Sunday. So it's really a strange. And then next week, there isn't a game per se because they don't play until the Monday night game against Cincinnati, which you can see anywhere on NBC. So they go 9 days between the games. Then after that Monday night, they play again Saturday against Baltimore. Both those are home games. And but that's the throwaway game that nobody plays in. Nobody was probably going to play in the first game. Nobody's going to play in the last game. I don't know why we bother with a preseason anymore. Today, Quinn, talked a little bit. Coleman's the only one right now with an injury. He hurt his leg on Saturday. They don't know if he's going to even go Wednesday to Foxborough for a scrimmage yet. So we're still waiting on that one. Terry, of course, has the ankle, which isn't going to get any better until that contract deal is done. And then 5 minutes later, he's tap dancing out of that room signing and goes out there. That was, there's really not much else on that front. They don't have to talk about injuries yet, so they don't. The depth chart came out today. You can go to commanders.com and see it. Take it for what it's worth at this time of year. No surprises there. BetOnline.ag, it's one of those online betting things, put out their new Super Bowl odds today, and Washington's 9th at 20-1. So if you think they can win the Super Bowl, you can get 20-1, which is reasonable, I guess. I mean, Philly's in front of them at basically 7 3/4 to 1. Something. They're doing quarters now in betting. It's weird. So they've got a chance like anybody. Let's see. Yeah, Brian, 5 on the last play, man. I don't want to say it was all luck. There's some skill, but still, there's some luck too. But just think of the old days. They'd have lost those 5 games. Dizzy, I never forget Serrato. Ooh, I did not like that guy. Mike, does Charlie still go? Forget Serrato. Ooh, I did not like that guy. Mike, does Charlie still go to the Junkies once in a while? No, I don't think so. Charlie now lives down in Florida. Pretty much retired, and Charlie's, let's see, Charlie's mid to late 70s now. So he's kind of just done, Charlie's one of the hardest working people I've ever met, Charlie Gousley. Steve, there were 6 preseason games? Oh, yeah. Yeah, they had 6. Plus they had exhibition games in the old days. I'm talking a long time ago. This team used to actually train in California and take the train back. And they would stop the train and play games on the way back, like in Knoxville, Tennessee, or whatever, for cash. I mean, this is very early days of football, but they trained out there for years. I want to say Occidental College, but I'd have to look that up. What's my take on the running back Bill, which is Jacoby Crosskey Merritt. But they call him Bill because he looked like some cartoon character named Bill that I don't know about. So everybody calls him Bill. Yeah, his friends call him Bill. It's really a strange thing. Okay, that's it. This dude put a major hurt in it against the defense. He made a run in the middle, pivoted in a heartbeat, took on a big hit, kept going. I mean, it was impressive. It was impressive enough that everybody said, he might be a starter. Because nobody's wedded to Brian Robinson anymore. Will he start? I don't think so. 7th round pick. It's a pecking order out there in life. But this dude can play ball. So he makes the team. We'll see what happens with that. But I was pretty impressed with him. Everybody was. It was one of those moments in practice that you wait days and weeks to see. And it was like, boom, did you see that? Woo. So Jaden's been throwing dimes, against the defense. He's looked pretty good overall. James looked better than last season. I know that's hard to say, but just watching him, man, there's so much more he's got game to do. Gregory, where would I rank Vinny in my GMs? Well, right above Bruce Allen. Bruce is at the bottom. Then there's Vinny. Hasn't really been a lot of GMs with this team. You have to remember George Preston Marshall was his own GM. Really didn't have much for GM. George Allen was his own GM. It really didn't have a GM like what we think of him until Beathard. So you got Beathard, Casserly, Serrato, Allen, and now Peters. Let's see. Mike, they still have 2-a-days practice. Not exactly. The last collective bargaining agreement a few years ago turned the afternoon practice into a walkthrough. So they only hit once a day at best. And then they only hit, you can't hit each other for a few days starting camp. And there's a lot of pounding. And that's because the Players Association negotiated that to say, we don't want to beat everybody up. And the NFL kind of has to agree with, well, if we're going to play 17 games, we got to try and keep people together. So don't wear them out in the summer. And that's part of what Quinn does too. You think, kind of getting a little easier on them in the summer. But you got a long season now, and the attrition war is just as important as anything else. Let's see, Mike. Okay, did that. Drew, check the way 2 early spreads for the regular season games. Washington's underdog in just 4 games. Okay, so he's saying that Washington's only an underdog in the advanced wagering on games. They're underdog to Philly twice, Green Bay and Kansas City right now, and they're favored in the rest. I would agree with that. Mike, thanks for coming. Todd, how has Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler looked in camp? I think Austin's looked really good. You sit there and worry about a guy that had 2 concussions last year. You're like, dude, do you maybe want to think about retiring while you still got your, wits about you? Because these kind of things tend to come back into people's 40s. And that's when they really show up. So hopefully that's not happening. Great guy. And Brian, I haven't noticed Brian a lot. And that's not a bad thing. Just there's 90 guys on the field. So there's 90 guys on the field. So and my 1 through 10 are looking at Jaden. So it's hard to see everybody. Let's see, Suzanne. It's criminal that Joe Jacoby isn't in the Hall of Fame. Well, I don't know if I call it criminal, but it's wrong. He should be in the Hall of Fame. And I think Joe will be. He has to be a senior committee pick now. I think he'll be in the next 5 years. So I wish him I think he should be. So I've had this conversation with pro football voters, and I think they're wrong on their thinking. They're thinking the reason Joe has not been pushed in, I was told by one of the voters. He said, everybody said, did you see the double tight end formations that Gibbs would put there by Joe or whatever? I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, people think he did that to help Joe out and that Joe couldn't handle it on his own. I don't know what game they were watching, but it wasn't the same ones I was watching because Joe could handle anybody one-on-one. They weren't using tight ends to help him block. But that's this misconception out there, and that's why Joe doesn't get quite the respect by the voters. It's wrong. But you try and say something to them, they don't want to listen to you. Brian B. Mitch also HOF. I would agree. And Gary Clark. Hey, man, you're right on my script. I talk Gary Clark all the time. If I had to be honest and I'll start a fight with this, I like Gary Clark more than Art Monk. And really, there weren't a lot of difference in the stats. And I would put Gary Clark in the Hall of Fame. Now, I think Art obviously deserves it too. He retired the all-time career reception leader at the time in the NFL, just like Charlie Taylor did when he retired. And they're both in the Hall of Fame. B. Mitch was fearless as a returner and a decent running back when he had the chance, but as a returner, one of the few returners who could really flip the field for you, and as both punt and kick returner. Let's see. Steve. Yeah, he goes with me. Jacoby should be it. Thoughts on Jalen Lane? Drew. Dude is fast, and he's going to get playing time this year, and maybe as a returner. That hasn't been decided yet. But Jalen Lane's, man, yeah, I noticed him in the off-season camps at OTAs. I was like, who's that? Because you can just see the speed, the hands, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, this dude got game. He's a good draft pick. So I think he'll definitely get some time. Stratus, because the HOF snubs people because of Snider. It didn't help. I'll be honest with that. It didn't help. The organization got stained by Snider, and that stains everybody. So there's something to that. Nathaniel, Gary Clark's numbers mirror Michael Irvin's. True. Irvin's had one more Super Bowl than Clark. Yeah, I mean, what is it? Sterling Sharp got in this weekend. Yeah, I think he was 7 years, and then injuries forced him out. Sterling Sharp was an excellent player. I didn't have any real problem with him going into the Hall of Fame. So if he can go in with that many seasons, and Terrell Davis, I think, had 7. It used to be, you need to be 10 or whatever. Well, there's 2 guys that did 7. So that rule doesn't hold up in my mind. Let's see. All right, catch up to everybody. So let's see, what is it? 8:42 already. Wow, we're rocking. And we got people. We do this bet every Monday mostly. I mean, there's going to be Cincinnati's a Monday night game, so we'll have to move us to Tuesday that week. But we try and do this for an hour, just talk. Substack, I have a column that I write now a lot of days. It's kind of a fun little thing to write notes and whatever is going on. I even talked this past weekend. I went to the national championships of lawnmower racing. And those dudes did like 60 miles an hour around a track. We had about 1,000 people there. It's down in Southern Maryland, deep where I live. It was fun. So I did a little video clip of it, and it's in the newsletter. So you get all kind of stuff, whatever. I do a lot of things, and I've mentioned them. So you go to Substack. It's Rick Snider's Washington.substack.com, and it's free. And most days I write it, but I won't swear I write it every day because it is free. Gotta have days off when you're not getting paid. So you'll see some stuff there. So hopefully you guys, for those of you who don't like to throw money to me, can just go sign up free and get something free. And gee, I'm really beating you in that game. So yeah, Rick Snider's with that S. Rick Snider's at the S there, Washington. Washington, not Washington. On Substack.com, you can see it. Ben Standick has one now too. He left the Athletic. He's now at Substack. Substack's got a lot of cool stuff. It's still kind of new out there. Ben, you can subscribe to him too because he's there every day. He's sort of like me years ago. He's there every day beating the drum. Kyle doesn't have a Substack, but he has other stuff. So Substack's a new place to look. Okay. Alton, what problems were there at the old RFK that will still be problems at the new RFK? Isn't that a good question? Well, hopefully it doesn't smell like wet dog every day, even if it's not raining. The old place, man. There's not going to be much for parking. The old place, man. There's not going to be much for parking. The city council did approve it tentatively last week, 9-3 on the city council, and they have to do a second vote in September before it's done all the way done. Why? I have no idea. I had people who understand the judicial process on all of this stuff, and they tried to explain it to me, and still admitted they're not quite sure either why they have to have a second vote on these things. To me, that's like giving people a chance to put a little skin in the game and change things or something. But at 9-3, I can't imagine that'll happen. So, but the new place, I mean, traffic and all that, I mean, you're going to have to take Metro. I noticed in the new thing with RFK, there's an 18% parking tax on top of your parking money. So let's just say it's $100 to park there, and don't think that's a crazy number because it very much could be. Then you pay another $18 taxes to go to the city, so it's $118. I noticed that was a last minute change. That paid somebody's bills. The team ended up putting up $50 million for community projects, and Jack Kent Cooke had to do something like that too in Landover, where they did a sports and recreation center. It's still there. Well, they're going to do one in DC now like this. So I give Josh Harris credit. He didn't suck the last dime out of this. There's money for everybody. And to me, this new stadium, I may not be here to enjoy it with you as much for years, but this will be something that changes Washington, D.C. for generations. It's that big a deal. It's going to be huge financial just to get it up. And they even did a last minute deal about using union labor, things like that. But it's going to be able to draw all these major events, and all these things bring big money into town. So the economy of Washington's changing because of all these government changes, like, thousands and thousands of people. I was just reading about it today, how many thousands and how the economy is changing in Washington because people lost all their jobs with this president downsizing. And the next president, whoever that is, isn't going to really ramp it back up. Once it's gone, it's gone. And jobs are moving out of town. And so Washington cannot be the government city totally relying on the government like it has for the past 100 years or so. It's got to diversify its money, and tourism and the stadium are going to be key in it. That's why they're willing to invest $1 billion, because you'll get Beyonce, you'll get World Cup, you'll get all these major events. The Super Bowl probably come. They bring billions of dollars with it. So that's why we're doing the stadium. And I think it's going to change and be great. I don't like the fact that Joe Average is just going to be priced out of this place. That personal seat licenses haven't been discussed yet, but they are very much going to be happening. So let's just say it's like $10,000 or $20,000 a seat, and you buy 2 seats. Are you ready to put up $20,000 to $40,000 before you even buy your tickets? I mean, somebody like me, no. If I wasn't a sports writer, I couldn't afford that. What I would tell people is buy your tickets on the secondary market down the road. Don't be the guy who pays the PSL. That's almost a sucker thing. I mean, if you got money to throw away, go ahead. God bless you. But for everybody that has to work for a living, you buy your tickets on the secondary market. And but it's still going to be expensive. When I was at this lawnmower thing, which is just a redneck thing, it was called Chaos in the Cornfield. Beer was $4, and they weren't the biggest of beers, but still they were $4. So the new stadium beers are going to be probably $20 or something. It's a lot of money, and it's kind of a shame because TV pays for so much, but hey, it's $3 billion. Harris got to get his money back somehow. So that you're going to miss the days when you could pay $1 and get in FedEx. That's for sure. Okay. Gregory, you expect all 3 preseason to be very vanilla? Yeah. They're not going to show you jack, really. These are tough things to watch, especially the third one, because that's players who are getting cut. So you really got nothing to gain. At Baltimore, the third preseason game against Baltimore at FedEx is a noon start. So, hey, at least we get done early. And that's on a Saturday? Yeah. It'd be right before. I don't know who's going to be there for that, because that's like the last big weekend before the Labor Day weekend, and people go to the beach here. So, but schools are back by then, so I don't know. We'll see. It's a getaway day. You never want to put a preseason game on a Friday at Landover because it's near the main road that goes toward the beach. Oh, never do that. They learn the hard way. Never do that. Should have just said, Rick, should we do this? I go, no. But they don't ask me these things. I only just lived here forever. Mike, back in '03, the team trained at Ashburn, yep, which is where we are. They stayed at the National Conference Center, right? Um, yeah, I mean, the Conference Center is, I don't know, 5-10 minutes away. It's not very far, maybe 10 minutes. So, yeah, they would stay over there. I'm not sure what they're doing now. That's why they don't have scrimmages and third teams coming to visit them. They don't quite have the facilities for that. But they're ramping up a lot in the Ashburn facility, and eventually they're going to leave it for someplace nearby. I think they're going to stay training. I noticed that the deal with DC says only that the front office business people have to be located in DC. Right now, they're located in College Park, Maryland, which is just a few miles across the border. But it's all about taxes and corporate money and all. So but it doesn't talk about the training facility at all being in DC. So I think they're going to stay in Virginia, out where they are. Let's see. Steve, the old RFK Stadium was fun. Yeah, I liked it. I liked it for baseball too. It was a lot. Even when the Nats came back. I mean, I saw baseball when the Senators were there in the '60s until they left after '71. But when they came back, I loved sitting in the outfield and watching the games. So yeah, it's a great one that way. There are two companies I understand that are doing renderings, competing for the new stadium design, and I haven't heard when they're going to pick one, but I heard they're down to two companies on that. I do know they're going to have something like a Hall of Fame section, filled with memorabilia and such of the town, of the team, and I'm sure it'll be right next to the gift shop. So on there. Drew, dome with no retractable. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's probably where we're going to be. Greg, when you expect this regular season schedule down to 20 regular season games, what's the limit? Yeah, I mean 20 I think has to be, but you'd have to get rid of the preseason. But they make a lot more money in preseason games because they only pay players X amount. No matter who you are, everyone gets the same paycheck in the preseason and the postseason too. So they don't charge, but then they don't get as much revenue either. But it's more of a throwback to the old days when they really made a lot more money in the preseason. And owners didn't want to give that up. It's a little closer now. Guillermo, thank you so much. Yeah, go, baby, go. See, Guillermo knows how to throw money my way. I do appreciate it on all that. We've got like 20 minutes left. Don't have a lot of people tonight. Hit the thumbs up button while you're there. If you don't want to pay anything else, just hit the thumbs up button. I do appreciate it. So thank you, Guillermo. You've always been generous. Steve, probably when they expand more teams. Well, yeah. I mean, there's 4 more teams coming. Think how much they're going to be. If Josh Harris paid $6 billion for Commanders, well, if you want the new team in London or somewhere in Germany, will be a team. Things like that. That's probably your starting price. So you let's just say $7 billion is the number, and 4 teams, that's $28 billion. Okay, this is just numbers I'm throwing out, and then the 32 owners cut that money up. So that's a lot of money to expand the league. You're just getting a check because you said we're going to let more teams in, and here's almost $1 billion for you, Mr. Owner, that you don't have to share in a lot of things. I'm not sure if that counts against the salary cap or not. It's been so long. It's several contracts ago since we've expanded. So I don't know yet what they would do there. But and then they limit the new teams. They don't get to share in TV revenues as much for X amount of years, that kind of stuff. And can you imagine being an American player? Sorry, that's why I'm getting up early. Can you imagine being an American player and saying, "Hey man, you got drafted by Germany. Maybe you don't want to leave the country. They're going to have to pay free agents more money to go live in Europe because you got to pay taxes in Europe and then you got to pay taxes here. So I don't know how it all works, but I know you have to, and that's going to cost money. So they're going to have to pay extra. Versus you could say, no, if it's a free agent, I'm going to go to one of the states that don't have state income tax, and that makes a sizable difference. So that goes into free agents talks too. That's why teams in Texas, California doesn't, but Texas now, Florida, they have an advantage with no state income tax. Steve, let's see. I think St. Louis would be one. It would make sense, but remember how St. Louis sued the NFL and won a lot of money about the Rams leaving? You wonder how many owners are a little sore about that still. So I don't know. Greg, San Diego expansion team? I don't know because it's so close to LA and LA's got 2 teams now, unless the Chargers want to go back, which I doubt. So I don't know if San Diego does. People talk about Austin. I don't think so. I think the Cowboys could keep that from happening. So there are a lot of places really left in the U.S., but they want to create a division over in Europe. So that's your 4 teams. Maybe 2 in London. We'll talk about 2 in London because London's, I think, 3 times bigger than New York City. And New York's got 2 teams. So that could be it. Somewhere in Germany. The Germans love NFL football. Man, the games there have sold out in a second. They're talking about 1 in Spain. So if you do Germany, Spain, 2 in London, there you go. Clayton, what came out of the best in my garden this year? Funny, we had dinner. We had a big birthday party here. And I got 10 ears of corn out of my garden. The corn came out excellent. It's yellow. Yellow and, let me see, I'll show you a picture. Let's see. Well, here's me with some of the grandkids coming out of the cornfield. We went to see the Superman movie. So we're all emerging from the cornfield like Smallville, deep thoughts. And then I just took this picture today. I have ornamental corn. Ornamental corn is the kind you see in the fall. So look at that thing. It's got all these colors in it. These are the ones you see in the fall, like for craft fairs, and they have corns and stuff. This is that kind of corn. You don't eat it. I don't know. I thought about trying a piece just to see what it tastes like. But that's my ornamental corn. So the corn came out really great. Tomatoes did okay. I'm not a big tomato guy anyway. I didn't plant many. The onions came out. I had never done onions in my garden. I have a big garden because I have an old farm. I bought a piece of an old farm. The land's great. When I was digging up the onions, you could really smell them right there in the ground. It's like, wow. And where I live by the Amish community. So there's so much corn around me. It's ridiculous. My little patch is nothing. I look inadequate compared. I mean, because there was let me see. I'll show you another picture. Here's my tree. Look at how big the leaf is on that thing. Bigger than my head. And, okay, here's one of the cornfields. Look at that. Man, these people they're serious about they plant corn down here. So I live in Southern Maryland. It's about an hour south of D.C. And there's my video on the lawnmower races. You had some accidents. People got hurt. I mean, I thought that looks kind of dangerous. They make them wear helmets and all. But still, things happen. Okay, let's see. Clayton, putting corn on the grill. Yeah, corn's great on the grill. But if you get it fresh, it's still sweeter. The more days that corn takes to be sold and in your grocery store and all that, loses the sugars as much. Steve, Smallville is a favorite TV show. I remember Smallville show. It was okay. To me, Superman will always be the black and white TV show I'd watch after school back in the 60s. And I think then it was on reruns. And had this big guy who was like a bodybuilder, Mr. Universe or something, I think. Even though it's not like today's Mr. Universe. But he was it. To me, that was my favorite Superman. I did see Fantastic Four the other day. And it was good. It wasn't great, but it was good. I didn't feel like I got screwed. Saw, I don't know if you guys have seen the Adam Sandler, Happy Gilmore 2. That was funny. I watched that the night it came out. I think they said 40 million people have watched it. It was funny. There was a lot of throwback jokes if you saw the first one. But I laughed out loud in the first couple of minutes. I think I laughed out loud like a dozen times. So it's on Netflix. You can watch that. I covered a little bit of golf enough to know something about it. I'd never play it. Bored me. Bored me way too much. Mike, Mexico City or Brazil for NFL? See, I think they got to do 4 teams in Europe because of travel situations. Brazil's a long ways. Mexico City's not is a ways too, but Brazil's a real long ways down there. Steve, is that cornfield behind my house? Yeah. They don't let you do it in your front yard. I have a 3.5 acre lot, and all my neighbors have something like that. And some of those homes haven't been sold because interest rates are high. So, which is fine with me. I cut the grass, some of it, and I don't have neighbors. Christopher Reeve's best Superman. He was awfully good, Clayton. I would probably put him as number one. Greg, put an expansion team in Fort Worth next to Jerry. No, Jerry Jones will block that for sure. They do have X amount of miles as their territorial rights, which Baltimore, I think, infringed on Washington's when they came. That was a mess. Suzanne, thank you again so much. I appreciate it. Talking about it's 9 o'clock. We're rocking along. I do have Sunday mornings, 52 questions for God, where we ask a question each week, talk about it for 2 to 4 minutes about it. Like this week, we talked about, do you have to be baptized? I'm not preaching to you. I'm asking the questions to the Reverend. You take it for what it's worth, but it's at least we don't pass the plate, and we're relatively quick, and it's on Sundays, but it's on there now on YouTube page. You can always go back and look at them all. We ask a lot of questions. We're doing one for 52 weeks. And it's been averaging close to 20,000 views across social media every week. So a lot, and half of them are people in their 20s. So I guess young people are trying to learn some stuff about God that we all have to learn as we go through life. So check that out if you like something different than football. And it's only a few minutes on there. Steve, I've seen some clips on YouTube of Happy Gilmore too. It's funny. Did he make a Freddy Krueger one? I think he did. Mike, can I pass my Substack thing? Yeah, let me put that on here. Let's see. Let's see if I got that right. If I didn't make a typo. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so there's the Substack address. You can read the newsletter free. It'd be nice if you subscribed. I'm not sure why, because I don't make any money off this, but I figure it's to grow the crowd again at a different place. X is losing its steam, even though X is huge. It's not what it was. And so I think people are looking for alternate places. And just, see what I write. I write notebooks of different things, handful of things. A lot of it's commanders, but not all. It's a little bit like me. I do half a dozen different things. You probably know I teach on Zoom. I teach kids U.S. history or life skill classes, like how to start a business. I talked to 2 kids the other day, how to start a business. One is 12. I said, what do you want? He thinks something simple, right? He goes, I want to be a drop shipper. Holy crap. I didn't even know what a drop shipping was when I was 12 years old. He's going to, basically, you're the middleman. You take the orders and get them fulfilled without holding on to the product yourself, and you get a percentage referral fee, basically. Kid's 12 years old. The next kid's 9. He wants to create apps. I mean, these are not lemonade stand kids. I mean, but I meet so many great kids teaching that in U.S. history. It gives me hope that, there's kids out there that when I'm gone, they'll pick up the sword and fight the battles for us. So it's really great to see. It's called outschool.com. And they have tons of classes. If you got kids, you can sign up for a class one time only if you like, or a series. If they have trouble with math or, whatever. If they want to learn how to play piano, it has all those things on it. You can go to Outschool for your kids. But they're only up to 18. They don't have anything for adults. I think they want to keep predators and all these terrible things away. That's why they limit it to 18-year-olds. Maybe somebody will start one after school or something. So I do stuff like that too. I do a bunch of stuff. Tour guiding. If you're coming to Washington and you want to go on a tour, I've got somebody coming Wednesday. I can take you pretty much anywhere in DC, talk about anything. Then we go to lunch afterwards and eat pizza. It's someplace decent. So I do that a lot with you. There's a bunch of you do it, especially come in Saturday before a game, and we do it. So you can go to ricksniderswashington.com. All my tour guide stuff is there. I went ahead and branded everything the same thing. It's Rick Snider's Washington because I do own this place. I'm a sixth generation Washingtonian. They took my great grandfather's store right on Constitution Avenue, made it the Environmental Protection Agency. I'd like it back, thank you. But I'm a Washingtonian. That's why I say Washington, because that's the old city accent I grew up with. But you have to have family in Washington for several generations to say that. And a friend of mine was telling me he went to Catholic school and the nuns would hit him every time he'd say Washington until he finally said Washington. Yeah, back in the old days when they really punished you about stuff. Clayton, what's that on the egg? Don't know. I think God created life. Oh, okay. All right. So that's a little bit of my IQ tonight. But, the God questions are great. People ask them all the time. People enjoy them. And if you don't want to do it, you don't have to. Greg, think of a national election. Do DC voters have to go to the voters box to vote on RFK Stadium? No, they do not. DC City Council. This isn't a referendum of any sort. So DC Council has full authority to make this deal. So there isn't any voting on this. And as far as national elections, so you know, those of you out there probably don't know, DC is not a state. It's a U.S. territory. Those of us who were born there, like myself, are U.S. citizens. So I wasn't born in a U.S. state. I was born in the nation's capital, which is a territory, and is governed by the federal government. We do have a mayor and a city council, but the president has shown he can, and the Congress has shown they can inflict damage on the locals if they want. We do get to vote for a president, but as far as Congress goes, we have a shadow congressperson, House of Representative, and a shadow senator who cannot vote. So their voice is hard to be heard. JP, first time. Well, great. I'm glad you came on. You were offered a job in Alexandria. Any recommendations for a great place to move to for the job? Thinking about the commute. Okay, so there is Potomac Yards one, and there's a lot of housing around that metro station. It's a small metro station, but it's walkable. There is King Street also has a metro station. If you move to Old Town, there is no mass transit metro, but they have ways to get over to it. It's about a mile from the water, but Old Town's real expensive. So unless you've been named CEO of something, most of the places there are well into $1 million. But look around King Street Station, or yeah, that's a good one. I would say that's one of them, and the other one I mentioned. And the commute's not thinking about a 1 hour commute. Oh, so you wouldn't even live an hour away? Well, in DC, an hour away could be 10 miles. Text me afterwards, or leave your stuff. I'll think about this for you. It's tough. Traffic in DC area now, with everybody going back to work, is impossible. It's just gridlock all the time. And there's a lot of people in the metro, but there's a lot of people in DC now. It's really grown. Let's see, Mike, there's 2 U.S. agencies that need to approve RFK. Yes, the National Capital Planning Commission and the U.S. Commission of Fine Arts. Okay, the fine arts thing is a really funny story that goes to my tour guide days. There's this guy who created this drinking fountain situation right by the U.S. Navy Memorial. So it's on Constitution Avenue around 7th Street, 8th Street, something like that. And it was thought that there really wasn't much good public water, including DC didn't have very good public water. So people drank beer. And this dentist from San Francisco thought, if I had a watering fountain like this that people could drink from and their horses could drink from, they had troughs, then maybe they wouldn't be a bunch of drunken bastards walking around the city because they were drinking water instead of beer. This thing people thought was so ugly that they created the Fine Arts Commission to make sure that another one like it was never created. What a wild story that is. I don't even think it's that ugly, to be honest. It's got a pelican or something. no dumber looking than a lot of stuff. So that's what the Fine Arts Commission is. Trump put two of the three people on it. Trump appointed two of them. So, and the same thing now with National Capital Planning Commission, which does designs, and it makes sure that this building's big on marble and granite, and they don't like a lot of glass, but that's starting to make its way in. It also has, say over some of this, and Trump has appointees on that. So, you don't poke the bear because there's other ways of coming at him. Steve, Naked Gun movie. I was thinking about going to see that and didn't have a chance. I'm glad to hear it's good. Well, that was really funny in the old days. It seems like we can't get comedies anymore. All right, we are about out of time. Woo! Good, because Rick's eyes are getting closed, as you probably have noticed. So, go to Substack if you can. Sign up for the newsletter. I see one person has done it. Thank you so much for all that. For all of you, usually there's 200-300 people come through. If you've come in late to the show, you can hit this show or rewind itself or whatever we call it. As soon as I go off, it'll be back on again. So you can see earlier stuff if you want. It was a good show tonight. You guys asked really good questions on it. And, otherwise I have videos 6 a.m. here on YouTube every day. And usually one in the evening too. So lots of this and that. Lots of these and that. I'm too tired to talk anymore. Yeah, I know. I saw the rumor, Mike. I'm on Pamela. Yeah, he choked me up. Anyway, I'm Rick Snider. Thanks for coming. I'll see you soon. Please like, share, subscribe, and go to Substack and hit that column. And that's it. Before I choke to death. Thank you all so much. I'll see you next Monday.